Let's deconstruct this design from Zeal House. So this beautiful piece of artwork has a few different elements. We have a vintage sky background with some chromatic aberration, and we have this cutout landscape feature with a young lady looking up, and in the middle we have a stylized typography. So this is the original design. This is our reconstruction. Let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to do is start working on our sky background. This has been run through a retro filter in Lightroom to give it more of that vintage feel. Then we're going to do a couple of color adjustments to really make it pop, and then do a dust overlay texture. Now what makes this background really cool in the original design is something called chromatic aberration. So to get that effect, we are going to duplicate that background after we added that blur to it, and we are going to make two passes. We're going to make a red pass by turning the other layers off, and we'll set that layer to lighten and then bring it up just a little bit, and then we're going to go through the process one more time and do a green pass. Now this is a natural occurring thing in Lens Shift, but we're making it in Photoshop. So this is our green pass, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set this to lighten, and then we are going to shift it down a little bit. Now we're going to mask off the top for the green and the bottom for the red so that they're not overlapping in the middle. So that gives more of a natural chromatic aberration look. Throw that into a group, and now we can start working on our typography. Now we're using two different fonts. Our first font is called New Plaque. We're using the semi-bold and the bold, and it's over this box. So we're going to copy and paste this over from Illustrator. We're going to bring in that E just a little bit to match the original design, and we'll copy that entire composition from Illustrator and throw it into Photoshop. Now once you have a box like this, you can hold Command and move your edges around and skew it to whatever you would like to do. Now let's do the bottom one. We're going to expand that and cut it through with Pathfinder and paste it into Photoshop. Same exact process, hold Command and move the points to the grid that we have matching the original design, so we can get this kind of warped flagship idea going on to it. And once we have that set, we are going to copy and paste our other text over from Illustrator. Now this font is called Directeur Regular, but in the original design, I think Zeal House probably did this with handwriting. This is a style that shows up in a lot of their designs, but this is a font that is somewhat similar. And that font again is called Directeur Regular. Now we're going to use the same technique of holding Command and skewing that font to where it matches our original design. Then we can copy and paste that cliff landscape over. It's just a cutout rock, and then we can put our lady on top of it, put some scribbles around her, and we're going to erase some of the scribbles so it looks like it's actually encompassing her rather than just stuck on top of her. Now after we do that, we can go ahead and move on to adding that glow behind her head. We'll make an ellipse, and then we're going to copy and paste a gradient map over that ellipse. And when you go into your layer styles, you actually have an option to move the angle around, so that's how we're getting the angle on that gradient overlay. Now we're going to add this shadow underneath her feet with a little bit of a purple color, and then we'll change the blending mode to soft light, add a little bit of a blur. Then we can move on to the final aspect, adding these really cool rainbow lens flares. So what we're going to do here is set these to lighten, so it takes that black background out and just leaves us with that rainbow lens flare. And then we have just a couple more little things to add to this. We're going to add a couple little adjustment layers, adjust our saturation, adjust the levels so those blacks don't pop quite as much and give us more of that retro vintage feel. Now the icing on the cake is throwing this into a group, duplicating it, and then going to noise, add noise. And I like anywhere from about 4 to 8 pixels on the add noise, and it really makes it pop. So this has been another design deconstruction. Thanks for joining us.